Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, there's more news on Buffy. Um, it doesn't seem to be official. There doesn't seem to be any confirmation through Hulu or anyone, and I couldn't quite find the source. But there are rumors about some specifics about the sort of, not the format, but the story, I guess, the characters for the new reboot. Basically, what they're planning to do is they're keeping the original continuity and everything. Like we said, Buffy's going to be an older version of herself who is now guiding the new Scooby gang, basically, and she's going to be like a recurring character. So it's not about Buffy now in the future, sort of being a Slayer or coming back to being a Slayer or anything like that. I don't think anyone ever thought that was going to be the case. And now she's taken on kind of a Giles role, but not exactly, because Giles was really involved. And I think the idea is to just have her being a recurring character, and not sort of a regular or anything like that. Not to sort of have her take on that Giles role, which people sort of thought she was going to do. But it'd be hard for her not to dominate and take away from the new characters, if she's standing there besides them fighting and all that, like sort of Giles often did. And it's hard to imagine her stepping back in any sort of instance like that. So basically we have three new characters. We have the new Slayer, who's 16 and very intelligent, very cerebral, but a little bit distant from people. I think her name is Gracie. And then they've got Nova, who is... I hope I'm not getting this around the wrong way. Nova, who is a vampire expert, who is kind of obsessed with Buffy and her legacy and all that. And then we have their friend, who's like an out and proud gay kid who's a nerd. And that's like the three sort of core sort of Scooby gang now. You've got Gracie's the new Slayer, Nova, who is the expert, who I guess sort of is a melding of Giles and Willow in a way, and Buffy's, I guess, sort of like a more distant watcher. Someone was suggesting she was going to train a watcher and there'd be a new watcher and she was going to be training them, not directly training Buffy, because there's a couple... not Buffy, Gracie. I just noticed the name is sort of similar to Buffy, Gracie. And there's a few different sort of rumours I've sort of heard. So there seems to be a couple of articles that seem fairly consistent, and the rest is sort of in between. And some of it I think is some people just speculating. Just, it's not hard to think if they're going to go in this direction, how it's going to play out, how it's going to work. They don't mention race of any character, so I'm assuming they're not going to be all white, but there's no mention of that. But they do make clear that Hugo is out and proud gay. And yeah, it's going to be on Hulu through 20th century television, and the casting is underway. And this is probably where this information's come from, where there's been casting calls and people have sort of managed to get some of the details, and they've worked out the story from there, from the descriptions of the characters. It might be a matter of that, which is why there's some variation. But it sort of makes sense. Like, you've got Buffy as a recurring character who's advising someone who's more consistent in the show, and then you've got your main three. So it's very much like a remake of the original, but it doesn't remake the original. You still have Buffy being who she is. Everything happened as it did. They're just in a different stage of their life, a different part of the story, a different level and so forth. And it does leave room for the other characters to come in, and they could even have recurring roles as well. They could be involved in the school or the town, and be there enough to sort of give the feels and the nostalgia bait, but not sort of be there so much that they take away from the new characters. Or so I think it's probably accurate, but when they're just in casting stages and so forth, it's kind of difficult. And they've only got a pilot, and it's kind of funny because the original Buffy was a movie that didn't do well, and they managed to get a mid-season replacement, 13 episodes, and then they didn't get series till after that was really successful. So this kind of looks the same, where they don't seem to have a lot of faith. They're not just going forward with, well, it's Buffy, it's going to be great. Probably because of Angel. I think Angel kind of soured the Buffy sort of fan a bit, because it's sort of, Buffy really just worked as Buffy. It didn't really work as its own universe. I never really thought Angel really worked. I think people remember Angel sort of last, and I think it sort of dulled the sort of edge of Buffy for its sort of longevity. It's sort of, people wanted to bring it back, but I think it had to be a generational thing. I don't think you could really continue Buffy's story without having a big gap like they have now, because it's nearly, is it 30 years? 97 it started, 2007. Yeah, it's like 20. Wow, yeah, they had to wait a generation basically, and they did. So I think it could work. They seem to be doing the most sensible thing, which is keep the original continuity, keep the original characters, have them for the nostalgia and just sort of casual, roles, and then just bring in new people, and you sort of try and bring in new people with the new cast and keep the old people there, and it works. That's the way to do it. Not rebooting, not remaking it all. So it makes sense, but we'll see. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the new Buffy rumours.